Tonight, I would like to discuss the two-round system, the two-round voting system. Basically, the two-round system works like this. Several candidates step forward for an election. When the votes are cast, if one candidate receives a majority of the votes cast, 50% plus, he or she is automatically elected. If no single candidate receives a majority of the votes, the two candidates with the most votes move on to a second round of voting called a runoff, where the one candidate who receives the most votes in the second round is declared the winner. Now, many presidential elections around the world are conducted this way, but I'm interested in when you use the two-round system in a parliamentary voting system, in a parliamentary vote. Now, France uses the system, as well as a few other countries. I can't name them off the top of my head, but France is the most well-known country that uses the two-round system. Single-member districts, where members of parliament are elected by the majority of the voters. This is much more fair than first past the post. It is one of my 3 preferred systems of voting over proportional representation and first past the post. This is one of my 3 preferred systems. The majority rules and not the minority. Now, what are the pros and cons of the two-round system? The pros are, first of all, it's the principle that the parliament is represented by the majority of the voters. The majority of voters are represented in parliament, And I don't have notes, so I have to make these long pauses. And more often, people are elected by a majority. However, there is one problem with this system, is in the second round, turnout is significantly lower because voters for candidates that lost aren't interested in the top 2 vote getters. So candidates can still sometimes be elected by a minority of the voters. It's unfortunate, but the principle is firm, that the majority rules, not the minority. But more often people are elected by majorities. Does it benefit minor parties? Well, in the first round, you can vote with your heart. You don't have to vote tactically. And in the second round, you vote tactically and with your mind. So you can still make a statement in the first round what your preferences are, what kind of policies you want. And then the eventual winner might adopt those policies because you made a statement by voting for another party in the first round. Now, it's true some people will not be represented in the two-round system in the parliament, but the majority always will be. So I'm satisfied with this. I don't care about the political fortunes of certain political parties. It's that I know that the majority rules and not the minority. Now, I might be the minority and then I'd be unhappy. But I don't feel like I waste my vote. my vote is not wasted in trying to get somebody elected. Now, what kind of parliament would it make up? I mean, does it create a two-party system or a multi-party system? Well, it depends on the political culture of a country. It could result in a 100-party system because everyone votes with their heart, and then there are all these one-seat parties all over the place, all over the map. Or the larger parties with more money and more established, and it becomes a two-party system, where the minor party votes are transferred to major party votes in the second round. But it could go either way. Now, does the two-round system benefit extremists? Well, you could end up in a shock all of a sudden when an extremist is elected all of a sudden, because people vote with their hearts and then they want an extremist candidate. But the thing is, this is not a proportional system, so the extremist voters in one district cannot rely on a coalition of extremist voters in the rest of the country. So only if the number of extremist voters in one particular area is large enough can they get a member of parliament. Otherwise they will lose in the first or second round most of the time. And their support is spread out all over the country, unless it's heavily concentrated in certain areas. But that's the same case with first past the post. So sometimes you get these shock results, like there was this guy called Le Pen who almost won the presidential election of France. It was a shock result, and as a result there was a really landslide win for Jacques Chirac at that time, that presidential election back in 2000, 2001, I don't remember. So there is risks with the two-round system, and there are some disadvantages, but overall I like it. And thank you for listening to my video and watching it.